Yo, Kpaceguy here. What's going on, YouTube? Again, I want to talk about these Fluance Ai60s here, just to the left and just to the right of your screen here. This is going to be the full, in-depth, honest review. The last couple videos I've been talking about these. This is going to be the last video that I talk about them in depth. And it's a really important video, guys. A lot of people have the Ai40s or are comparing between the Ai40s and Ai60s. Some people want to know if you should upgrade from the 40s to the 60s and why, or why not. Some people don't have either of them and they want to know which one's the better ones. So I can't speak too much on the 40s because I have not ever owned them or heard them, but of course I have the 60s in front of me and I've had a while to listen to them in different applications, whether it be music, video games, and I've been able to listen to them near field and far away, and I have a pretty good idea of what I want to say about these speakers. If you haven't checked my first video out, I went through the specifications and all the features of the speakers. I'm not going to do it here in this video. The last video that I made, I also talked about, well, I didn't talk about anything, but I made a sound demo for you guys just to get an idea of what they're good at, what they're bad at, as much as I could. I know it's kind of hard to really get a replication off of YouTube, but I'm going to use this video now to talk about what I heard and what I think about these speakers. So right off the bat, these speakers are actually very, very good. I'm super impressed with the speakers, and the one I'm really most impressed of is the bass. These are a completely sealed box of speakers here. No ports at all, no passive radiators, nothing like that. Just what you see on the front there. You have your inch tweeter and you have your 6.5-inch speaker on the front. And you actually get quite a bit of bass out of these speakers. And it's actually mind-blowing because, you know, they're bigger than the 40s by, you know, a little bit, maybe 30% or so. But there's a lot of bass that comes out of the speaker as if it's ported. It sounds as good as a regular bookshelf speaker with ports on the back, things like that. It sounds phenomenal. Enough bass that you actually feel it through the floor when you're playing them. I heard it vibrating my desk for a little bit. You can actually feel a little bit of rumble, and it gets rather low. I was really impressed. I haven't actually tested how low they get, but they actually produce a good amount of output at low frequencies. I was super impressed with that. So that's one of the biggest notes that I want to mention. Although the bass is a good thing and a bad thing with these speakers. These speakers seem to compress the sound a little bit when you turn the bass up. And I'll speak on that a little bit more in just a second. With the tweeter, what I'm missing a lot from the speaker, and what it is the sparkle. It's the shimmery sound. You know, it's lacking a little bit of life, in my opinion. When I listen to some music, especially the music I was listening to whenever I was doing a demo, I was missing a lot of, you know, high-end treble. I was missing that, and I ended up going back to remote and cranking that treble up, and it still was not enough. I'm capped off at a certain output with the high range, and I really wish I had more. It's a little bit too relaxed. It's a little bit too neutral. Maybe even a little warm, actually. It's actually very warm, in my opinion. And I wish that it wasn't. I wish I had more brightness to it. I wish I had more sparkle, more shim. You know, I'm just missing that twinkle in the high end, which would actually bring these speakers to life a lot more. And because I'm missing that high end out of the tweeter, it actually makes the bass sound bad because there is a lot more bass than there is high end. So the tonal balance between the high end spectrum and the mid-range low end is completely off. And so I actually ended up turning my bass down. Even in the demo, I had the bass down at halfway or maybe just above it. I will not go higher than that. I will never turn it up full volume. One, because it's too much bass in general, and then two, it just drowns out the high end of the spectrum completely. So it actually sounds much better to maybe even turn the bass all the way down, and then you start to get a tonal balance between the upper registers and the lower registers of whatever you're listening to. So that's one of my biggest complaints with the speaker. It's just that tweeter is just too warm. It's just a too warm of a speaker. So if you're going to be listening to this from music on a turntable, or if you're going to power up some Bluetooth audio, whatever you're going to do, I think it's best to knock that bass down, if not halfway, all the way, and let that treble be all the way up, because it's going to actually sound better and more balanced between the two. Again, I just felt like it was off. I felt I was getting way too much bass and not enough, you know, high end, and that came through on some of those music that I was listening to with vocals. The operatic piece that I played in the demo, the Puccini piece, one of my favorite songs ever. I love that song. I love that singer. And I was missing among a lot of vocal, because the mid-range of the orchestra and, you know, all the instruments, they were playing such a low register that his voice floating over top of the instruments didn't come through like they're supposed to. It felt like he was battling the orchestra because the speakers were playing more of the orchestra than the vocals, because the tweeter's not as loud as the mid-range driver. And so that's my only real complaint. Overall, I love these speakers. They are replacing my edifiers, my Luna HDs that I originally had on my desk. They're completely replacing those. Those are no longer going to be in the system here on my desk. But I do love these speakers because you have the controls on the front. On the right speaker, just over there, you have that knob there. It acts as a volume knob, acts as an input selector, and is a power on and off. So all the controls that you really are going to need to use is right there at hand. And again, these are monitors. They're powered monitors, so they're made to be near field, and they actually sound really good near field. I had a blast sitting in my chair there and playing a couple of video games, listening to a little bit of music, and it sounded phenomenal up close. I had really good imaging. I could really tell between left and right, and then when something was talking on screen, it sounded like there was a center channel right in front of me. So as far as that aspect, it sounded really, really good. But for me, I just can't get past that treble. I just wish the tweeter was, I'm not sure where the crossover is at or how high in the kilohertz that tweeter gets to, but I think it needs to be bumped up much, much more. So if Fluance ever ends up making Ai80s or something like that in the future, maybe Ai60, I know they're not going to make too big of a speaker because, you know, a monitor is not supposed to be too big. But if they ever make a revamp of these speakers, like a tweaking type of speaker or something, I really want them to make a tweeter that's a little more bright, a little more shiny, a little more in your face. It sounded so reserved and so relaxed, I was missing something. And that's all I could think about when I was listening to music and playing video games. I just could not get past that. But don't get me wrong, this speaker does sound phenomenal for what it is. It's only $299 for the Ai60s, and I believe $199 for the 40s. It sounds phenomenal nonetheless. Just make sure you crank that bass a little bit lower than usual than you might think. It's still a lot of bass. The bass is actually very heavy in these speakers, so you can kind of get away with turning it down. I'm a bass kind of guy. Of course, I got two PB4000s in here, and I got kickers in the car, and you know, I'm a bass heavy kind of person, but I like it to be balanced. And with these speakers, it's not. So you're gonna kind of have to, you don't really have an EQ with the speaker. All you have is bass up and down and treble up and down. But if you can get that bass down a little bit, maybe halfway or around that area, you're gonna find a pretty good sweet spot for what you can, what you have. So guys, these actually are really good speakers. They're pretty good speakers, honestly. They're really good. I have to be nitpicky, and that's what I'm gonna pick on. So if you're looking for these speakers right now, they're definitely something you should look into. They're probably one of the best monitors that you're gonna be able to find, especially at this price point. I know there's Rockville out there and some other companies out there that are around the same price, which I haven't heard before, but for what this is a really good speaker, really good bass, and a really nice finish. It's white on the front baffle there, and then a walnut kind of espresso kind of look on the sides and the back. So it's a very eye-appealing speaker. I put them on stands just now that I actually just got today. I'll go ahead and walk over there and show them to you guys. They're from Vivo, got them on Amazon. You get two for the price of $44. So I have them sitting on stands just to clear off some desk space. There's that one and then that stand over there. So they're gonna be sitting on stands, and that's how we're gonna power up my speakers. So that's gonna be my listening position here for the monitor there. And again, I'm gonna be adding more monitors to my system. I'm gonna have 3 in total eventually. So guys, I just wanna let you guys know how I feel about the Ai60s. There's not a lot of reviews on there. There's some out there, not a lot, so I wanted to add to that collection. So guys, check out everybody else's YouTube videos, see what they think about it. If you need more help figuring out what you want to do with these speakers, they're phenomenal, guys. They're really good for the price. You can't beat them. But again, there are some things that you're compromising when you buy a speaker at this lower price. So if you guys found this video informative, helpful, or anything at all, make sure you leave a like down below, hit that comment, and let me know what you guys are using. And do you have a monitor system in your home theater? I know a lot of people don't have, you know, a dedicated setup like this in their home theater, but you know, some do. So if you have a PC setup or some type of gaming station, what are you using for your audio there? Are you using just basic PC speakers, nothing serious? Or do you have monitors on your desk? What are you doing? And then hit that like button, of course, and smack that subscribe button while you're there to stay tuned, because I got some fun stuff coming up for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month actually. So stay tuned, guys. Kpaceguy out.